My name is Erica Brewster, and I'm the Data and Technology Services Consultant for the Wisconsin Valley Library Service. In 2023, I recorded a Digital Byte giving a detailed overview and tour of the 2022 WVLS Statistics Booklet after we had revised the layout and added more trend charts and definitions. Since that 2022 booklet, we have added yet additional content to help expand our understanding of what those metrics mean in the lives of our libraries. The original Digital Byte is still relevant to the structure of the 2023 and 2024 booklets, so in this recording, I'm going to focus on the new additions and features. The first new feature of the 2024 online booklet is a hyperlink table of contents. If you open the booklet on your computer, you will be able to click any of the highlighted items and go directly to that page in the booklet. We hope that this makes navigating through the digital booklet faster and more convenient. Also, as in past years, there is a 2-page infographic summary of major takeaways from the statistics booklet that can help provide some quick talking points about WVLS libraries as a whole and add a little color and context to the story behind the data points. Use this as a jumping off point before diving into the rest of the booklet, or extract these pages as a standalone piece for discussing libraries with the wider community. In 2023, we added a section called Library Metrics. This was originally placed at the back of the booklet, but we felt that the information is more useful when it is reviewed first. Like the infographic, it helps tell a deeper story about library services while being backed up with the specific data points later in the book. I'm going to spend some time now exploring this section, how it works, and how it can best be used. Of note, there are some detailed instructions on the first page of this section to explain how it analyzes library metrics to provide a deeper understanding of how libraries of various sizes use resources, specifically their collection, circulation, income, expenditures, employee full-time equivalents, and service hours to serve their local communities. By expressing, for example, total circulation size as a per capita or per resident number, a library with a comparatively small total circulation can rise to the top when calculating the number of circulations per local resident. The layout for this section is worth reviewing before diving into the numbers. The 25 WVLS libraries are divided to 4 quartiles, color-coded smallest to largest as green, yellow, tan, and blue. The key is to notice how a library can move among the quartiles when a base metric is factored a different way. For example, notice how Westboro appears in the lowest quartile for circulation. But when it is divided by the local service population, Westboro jumps to the top quartile with the highest number of circulations per resident. Then, when considering circulation per square foot of library space, Westboro moves to the top of the 3rd quartile. It might be key to take your library and highlight it where it appears throughout this section and note how you move among different libraries and with different cohorts. In addition to per capita, as noted in the Westboro example, the collection and circulation metrics include a collection per square foot calculation. The 2023 Wisconsin Public Libraries Facilities Assessment Report included some observations by library architects and building consultants about the typical library exploring the need for a building project. In general, it was observed that the generic benchmark of about 5 items per square foot indicated a balance between housing a collection and having room for seating, staff space, meeting and program space, and other public spaces. While far from a hard rule, it was found that libraries that crept up to the 9 or 10 volumes per square foot usually was prompted to either do a collection review or to look at a building expansion. In our WVLS libraries, we generally find our buildings to be well below the 5 volume per square foot benchmark. Only 2 libraries are approaching that top benchmark. This is only a guideline for understanding a local situation and heavily depends on how a library uses or counts their square footage. Similarly, circulation is also calculated as per capita and per square foot. Again, the Facilities Assessment Report provided a general benchmark for interpreting circulation per square foot. They suggested using a combination of circulation per square foot and collection turnover, which can also be described as % of total collections circulated in a year, to consider space and collection management needs. Low turnover, indicated by less than 100%, but high circulation per square foot, could indicate a need for collection review or weeding. On the other hand, high turnover, above 100% and closer to 200%, and high circulation per square foot might indicate a building rearrangement or expansion is in order. Returning to our earlier Westboro example, we noted that the library was at the top third quartile for circulation per square foot, which could be considered borderline high in comparison to other WVLS libraries. When we compare that to Westboro's collection turnover during the year, we find them at the bottom of the third quartile at about 120% of their collection checking out in a year. This is fairly moderate, but if this number were to rise closer to 200% and the circulation per square foot moves up into this top quartile, a library might want to consider that their collection and space might not be meeting the local demand. Again, this is just a starting point for exploring options. Local context is needed for understanding the full narrative and story. The next pages of the metric sections include income and expenditures, expressed as per capita income and spending, and also service hours per week and full-time equivalents, calculated both as per capita, but then multiplied to the per 1,000 population to make the decimals more readable. Otherwise, there would be a lot of zeros in front of these numbers, and it would make it difficult to interpret it. Again, a library with a small number of hours may be providing a proportionally larger number of service hours for its population. The next major addition since the 2022 Statistics Booklet is found nearly halfway through the booklet on page 21. A chart showing source of items circulated at VCAT member libraries. The light blue on the chart shows the percentage of items checked out by a library card holder that came from a library's own collection. The darker blue is the percent of items that were checked out at a library by a card holder but came from another WVLS VCAT library. Finally, the gray on the very end indicates the percentage of items that a cardholder obtained through WizCat, the statewide and regional interlibrary loan service. Typically, about 17%, which is not quite 1 in 5 items of a library circulation, comes from another VCAT library. The next brief stop on the tour is a somewhat intense chart, which further breaks down which VCAT libraries the 17% of items comes from, and where the items a library sends go out to. While these graphs are dense and full of numbers, the key is understanding that the darker the color of the square, the more items are moving from the library in the left-hand column to the library in the top row. Not surprisingly, in both charts, MCPL, with the highest number of items in their collection and the most cardholders, is the primary source and destination for materials circulating throughout the system. But closer examination can reveal patterns that enhance our understanding of circulation of materials throughout the local system. While physical circulation continues to be the primary function of WVLS libraries, as it still outpaces electronic use by nearly 4 physical items to every 1 electronic item, electronic material use has grown steadily. A revised chart on page 29 shows both the growth and change in types of e-materials used since 2015. Note how the growth in demand for e-audiobooks is apparent, as shown by how large the light blue section of the column has become in recent years. There is now quarter more use of e-audiobooks than regular e-books in the dark section, even though e-audiobooks account for only 1/3 of the total electronic items licensed. This is seen in a section that is new in the 2024 Statistics Booklet, Total Digital Library Holdings 2015 to 2024. This page gives number of electronic materials licensed for use for WVLS cardholders by the Wisconsin Digital Library Statewide Consortium, known as WPLC, as well as additional licenses held by WVLS and MCPL in their Advantage accounts. Here's where we can specifically see the proportion of ebooks, the darkest blue, compared to the e-audiobooks, the next color shade of blue up. This proportion is averaged 2.5 ebooks for every 1 e-audiobook license, despite that rapidly increasing use of e-audiobooks. Skipping ahead several pages, our next two major additions were added in the 2023 Statistics Booklet and are continued in 2024. Pages 44 and 45 show a 20-year funding pattern for libraries grouped by county as reported in the raw dollars appropriated by local and county governments. Pages 46 and 47 show these same allocations adjusted for inflation. This gives an idea of how flat funding or maintenance funding is actually a budget cut over time as purchasing power of the dollar weakens. We brought back the Act 420 payments chart in the 2023 booklet. This page gives an overview of cross-border payments paid and received. While specific totals vary from year to year, overall there is no trend or change over time in the amounts paid to bordering counties or those received from other counties by local libraries. Finally, in 2023 and 2024, some context was added to the last major section on facilities and personnel in the statistics booklet. In July of 2023, CERLA published their first Wisconsin Public Library Staff Compensation Report based on a 2022 survey. This allowed us to look at some trends and comparisons for director hourly pay. There is some general squishiness to these numbers, as many WVLS libraries didn't participate in that original survey, and the 2022 salary survey aged quickly as it came right at a time when inflation was high and salary adjustments were broadly being forced on libraries to retain staff. Additionally, regional divisions may not have a balanced representation of grade 1 to grade 4 libraries, and individual WVLS libraries may find themselves out of sync with their regional cohort. However, as a high-level starting point, it gave libraries context they never had before and allowed many to become better advocates for parity in salary and hours. Finally, in 2024, we added 2 additional charts to visualize the average number of service hours per week by county at WVLS libraries, and a 5-year trend chart for average number of FTE or full-time equivalent employees at WVLS libraries. Note that this excludes MCPL, the largest library, and Wabeno, the smallest library, as those 2 FTE numbers skewed the results. This brings us to the end of the major additions to the WVLS Statistics Booklet made since 2022. I hope you have found this tour through the revisions and additions to the booklet enlightening. As always, your questions and insights are encouraged. You can find my contact information on the WVLS website. Thank you for your attention.